Welcome to the Transform Your Relationship podcast, where we'll go beyond the typical relationship advice. I'm your host, Manisha Terry, somatic healing practitioner and mentor. Each week, I'll share personal insights, client success stories, and how my holistic trauma-informed approach can help you transform your relationship from the inside out. You'll learn ways to recognize and prioritize your needs, get to the root of what's upsetting you, and courageously ask for what you want so you can confidently co-create the relationship you desire. You'll also hear from guest experts who will be invited to share their unique approaches to transformation, and at the end of each episode, you'll receive one tangible practice you can implement right away to transform your relationship. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast. I'm Manisha. I have a guest today who I'm really excited about. My friend, Allison Dellatore, is here to join us. She is an intuitive coach, and she helps people connect to their souls using a variety of practices and methods. However, today we're going to be chatting with her about connecting with your spirit guides and how that supports your relationships. And you know that I always share a little bit about why I'm happy to bring a certain guest on. And, one of the reasons I thought it'd be great to bring Allison on is because when we're having a relationship challenge, it's so easy to get stuck in the day-to-day in the weeds. But I really believe that all of our relationships come into our lives to teach us something, and our minds can't always make sense of it. So tapping into something much bigger to help us zoom out and receive guidance can be so valuable. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome, Allison. I'm really happy to have you here. If you could take a moment to say hello and share a little bit more about who you are and who you help, that would be great. And then we can dive in.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be here, and thank you for having me. I am an intuitive coach, an advanced Akashic record practitioner, soul level animal communicator, and integrated energy alignment practitioner. In a nutshell, I help people in really big ways by bringing in their spiritual support system, which includes spirit guides, animals, deceased loved ones, all kinds of good stuff, energy clearings, just to help move what is no longer serving you out of your way so that you can step fully into your power, harness your unique magic, and really make the transformations in your life that you're longing to make. And there is nobody better to help you with that than your spiritual support system, for sure.
Oh, I love this. I'm already so excited because, again, like I said, I think it's so easy to just look at what's right in front of us and forget that we have all of this amazing support literally all around us all the time. So before we get further, you mentioned the Akashic records and energy clearings and spirit guides. So since we're going to be focusing on spirit guides today, if you could just share a little bit about what you mean by that. I think the listeners, some might have an idea, some might be like, what is she talking about? What does that even mean? So if you could kind of give us a little nutshell explanation, that would be great.
Absolutely. Because yes, people do get really confused around the topic of spirit guides. So spirit guides are higher vibrational beings, and you always have a grouping that is with you from the moment you incarnate into body, and they go through your whole entire lifetime with you until you exit. And then you also have other spirit guides that pop in and out of your life as you need them. So, for example, if you wanted to become a doctor, you would get medical spirit guides that would work with you through medical school, right? And into your profession. If you're getting married or divorced, there's guides for that too. And where people tend to get confused is they go, oh, is my deceased grandma my spirit guide? And the answer is they are a guide, but they are not a spirit guide. And there is a distinction there in terms of deceased loved ones who offer guidance and support from the other side, but are not higher vibrational beings that are spirit guides. So there's a distinct difference. And between the knowledge that can also be gifted from a spirit guide is very, very advanced
Mm.
compared to, grandma sending you love and support from the other side. So it's a different level, if you will, of vibration.
Okay. I have so many thoughts and questions already because there's lots of ways to go with this. I mean, of course, we are going to get into how the guides can support our relationships, of course, but I mean, when someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, higher vibrational beings that can support us, how would one kind of maybe tap into that? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious, like, is there a way that you could give us a little bit of a sense of like, what does it feel like to be like in tune with or in touch with that higher vibrational being?
So first off, anyone can actually connect with their guides.
Okay.
And the biggest thing here to remember is that our guides are always sending us signs. There's always divine orchestration at play in every second of every day. But we also have free will. And so our spirit guides have to walk like a fine line, if you will, between interfering and not interfering because of free will. So one of the best things that you can do is actually start by inviting them into your life, right? Start talking to them, asking for help for even the most mundane tasks. Your spirit guides will help. So you could be like, I can't find my car keys.
Okay.
I'm calling on my spirit guide team. Can you please help me find my car keys? All the way to my life is falling apart and I have no idea what direction to go in. I'm calling on my spirit guides, right?
Okay.
So there's no limit to what you can ask. And it can be something as mundane as I can't find my keys.
Yes.
And I have somewhere to go, right? But the real key is making sure that you're actually asking for their help. That gives them permission to come in bigger ways. And if you are not someone who's a feeler, right, who's clairsentient, you're not going to feel that vibration.
Okay.
But for me, I can feel the vibration and the difference in the vibration from an animal to a deceased person to a ascended master, right? Because they're all at different vibrations.
Yes.
So the more in tune you are, then you can feel the difference in vibration. But anyone can get their help at any point in time.
What I'm hearing you say is that because you have this ability to sense and feel the vibrations, and because you're obviously a practitioner and you've been doing this for so long and your practice at it, you can sense the different sort of levels of vibration. And then you use the word clairsentient, which not everybody might be familiar with, but do you mind just sharing a little bit of the different clairs or sort of the ways that people tune into their guides or the way, just the ways I guess people can tune in?
Sure. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, every single person on this planet is psychic. Whether you believe it or not, every single one of you is psychic. And so clairsentient is feeling, claircognizant is a knowing. That's I know, but I don't know how I know. Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then of course you have, all the clairaudience, which is hearing, there's visualizing, right? So there's smelling, there's tasting, right? So like if you've ever smelled your deceased grandmother's perfume out of nowhere, right? That's a psychic sense. And even if you're not someone who's actively using their psychic abilities, everybody has the ability to receive. It is in you, it is undeniable, and you wouldn't be able to survive actually without your psychic senses.
Yeah.
And your intuition.
Okay. I love this. And I specifically asked just if you could explain that a little bit, because one, they might just be terms that people are unfamiliar with, but also to highlight, there are these different ways that we can sense and feel and know and hear. And people might just go throughout their lives and just be like, I just had this feeling, and that's something there that's within you, that's showing you that is indicating to you that there's some message there that's trying to be communicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the best example, and I use this example with men all the time because men are always like, I don't know, I'm not psychic, I can't receive. Take any police officer, right, on the job, and what will they say every day, all day? But my gut, but my gut, but my, right? And so they're using their psychic sense without realizing that they're using their psychic sense.
And again, I bet so many people, right, are just, oh, I had this sense, or I just have this feeling, or I think I should do this. I don't know why. So I love this because I think, we all have that, whether we're aware of it or not. But then we can also start to develop this relationship with the guides to really help us in all aspects of our lives, from finding our keys to when our life is falling apart. So that's a massive bonus right there.
100%.
Yeah. And so before I ask you like a little bit more about the relationship piece or how you feel they can help there, is there something that inspired you to take this work or to take this gift into your profession and support people in this way?
Yes, and it wasn't flat out my decision. Let's put it that way.
So
There's a little bit of a story here.
Yes.
So I have been using my psychic abilities my whole life. I have been communicating with animals and deceased people my whole life, connecting to higher vibrational beings, doing telepathy. All of these things have always been since the time I was a small child. But like most people, I went through the world doing what you're supposed to do, right? And so you go to school, then you finish school, you go to college, you get a respectable career, right? You do the things like the little checks in the box, right? Like I did the thing, but I was never happy trying to tamp down this part of me that was such an ingrained, important part of me. I every decision I've made was really based on, should I move? Yes, right? Like based on like higher level guidance about things. And here I was trying to tamp it down in a really big aspect of my life. And so, of course, the universe, the guides, everybody intervened to put me in a situation where I could no longer do what I was doing as a profession.
Oh, okay.
Which forced me to go, oh, well, now's the right time to do what I love.
Okay.
Now's the time to do what lights me up and makes me happy and brings me joy and allows me to help other people in a way that is healthy for me. Right? When you're tamping down a part of you, it's never really healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like, thank you for sharing that. I don't think I need that part of that story, where it was sort of an opportunity was given to you to switch, where it might not have been 100% your choice in that moment, but clearly it's working. But that piece around the tamping down, right, of a piece of ourselves. And I think sometimes in relationships that can happen so frequently in terms of, well, a couple of things, the knowing, like the gut feelings and the knowings and those things that come to us, but we don't really know what to do with them. But then also sometimes that dimming down of ourselves, or, not really fully being ourselves in our relationships. And I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to that in terms of, how we can invite our guides to support us around those things, or any stories you have around that in terms of supporting clients.
Absolutely. It's something that comes up a lot because every person on the planet, whether they will admit it or not, has conditioning and limiting beliefs. And the way that they view the world is through the lenses of those belief systems. And so, for example, if you have the belief system of not good enough or not lovable, you spend a whole lot of time trying to be loved, right? And trying to be perfect. trying to be something that you're not, thinking that that will then make you lovable. And, you know, one of the things that the guides always, always say, the spirit guides will always bring this up, is you are perfect exactly as you are. You are valuable. You are lovable. You are good enough for absolutely anything you could ever desire. And it's really important when I'm working with clients that they begin to open up to the shift in perspective that the guides can offer. Because if you're in a relationship and you are having issues in that relationship, you know, one of the things that people do is, it's like Google Earth. We zoom in, right? And we're looking like, oh, there's my backyard. And if you're really an overthinker, you're like, let me count the blades of grass, right? Like that's how intently you zoom into an issue or a perceived problem in the relationship.
Yeah.
And what the guides do is they come in, and because they know you so well, the spirit guides will use a language that allows people to completely have a shift in perspective, to zoom out and to see the role that they're playing. And a lot of times the assumptions that are being made, right? I'm assuming that this person doesn't love me, or I'm assuming that I did something wrong, right? And we cling on to those stories because they're comfortable and we're familiar with them. And so the spirit guides will actually pull you out and give you the grander perspective on the relationship as a whole, on the particular issue that you're having in the relationship, and how your conditioning and limiting beliefs might be skewing the way that you're viewing the situation. And we all do it. We all do it. So sometimes, to give you an example, I had a client whose spouse always seemed to forget anything that she asked for help with or to pick up from the store, right? And in her assuming, she assumed that he remembered for everybody else, but not her, right? And the spirit guides very clearly pulled it out and was like, okay, first off, you're making this a story about you, that there's something wrong with you that makes you less important to your spouse, when that's actually not the case at all. And your spouse is having another kind of problem that has absolutely nothing to do with you, right? But in our stories, we like to make things up about us, right? Yes. We're the problem, we're the issue, we're somehow not good enough. And so the spirit guides will always pull you out of that place, give you a grander perspective, and because they're your spirit guides, they always give you homework in different ways that you can tweak how you're viewing situations for future reference.
Yeah.
Right? Or different ways that you can then go in and work on yourself so that that conditioning is going away. You're releasing something that's no longer serving you so you can see through clearer lenses, right? That aren't skewed by your own belief systems.
Which, of course, they are. I mean, it's what we grew up with. It's societal conditioning, cultural, familial, all of those types of things. And so that's the way we're going to view the world from. And when we have that internal experience of ourselves, that's what we're going to view how other people treat us through that same lens. So let me ask, I guess, with this particular person, when you were able to zoom out and kind of help her see that, in fact, this forgetfulness around her wasn't about her and it was really about something else, like how was she able to sort of shift that or shift the relationship or shift how she approached it?
It was a huge aha moment. And it was a moment where she was able to see the different things that she could do to actually support her spouse who needed the support. Right? When she took herself out of it and could see the bigger picture and went, oh, he really needs my help.
Okay.
And I've been stuck over here making this about me.
Okay.
And it's not. And so there was relief. There was aha. There was, I can totally shift how I move through this relationship now because I can now see it from this grander perspective and realize that I shouldn't be making it about me because it's not, right? But it's the first automatic response that we all have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to immediately take something personally, right? Because we're the center of our own universes and we sort of see everything through that lens. And so what I really keep hearing in what you shared with this client, but also in general, how you've been talking about this is one of the biggest gifts the spirit guides can give us is to help us zoom out and sort of see things from a different perspective, different than the one we've been kind of caught or stuck in all our lives, presumably. And really, because of that, that also changes the relationship dynamic or what we think about ourselves or how we think about ourselves.
Absolutely. Because when you're able to see where your conditioning is clouding your judgment, right? It also opens up a whole new level of compassion for yourself and for other people.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, everybody on the planet is walking around really, for most people, highly critical of themselves. Right. And another thing that the spirit guides like to do, especially for people who are really struggling with owning their own value of how important they are, is they'll say, go ask 10 people in your life what your best qualities are. And every single time people are amazed at how other people view them, right? Because we view ourselves really skewed. We don't see how amazing we are. All we see is our flaws for the most part. But other people can really see the magnificence of somebody else. And when you can take that in, that also shifts your perspective of, you know, how valuable you are. And when you can really understand your own value as a person, that shifts every relationship that you will ever have.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for really highlighting that, because I do see that over and over again as we recognize our own value and kind of what we're bringing to the world, to the relationships, to just different things in our lives. It really does elevate the quality of the relationships around us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so before we hit record, we had been talking about just sort of our ways of thinking about relationships. And I think we have a similar view in terms of like relationships in our lives are showing us something about ourselves. And so I know that you had kind of talked a little bit about, you know, how the guides can help us see that if we're not able to see that. And I'm wondering if you might share a little bit more about that perspective.
So every single relationship that you will ever have, whether it's romantic, platonic, family, right? It doesn't matter. It's all showing you in a lot of ways, right? Because we project a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? And so in a relationship, a lot of times what's happening is what you're feeling, what you're receiving back, your interpretation of what that person is giving you is a clue about where you can heal, right? Where you can learn boundaries. That's a biggie in relationships. Doesn't matter the type of relationship for boundaries either.
Yeah.
Boundaries is a big one. But every relationship is really showing you how to love yourself, right? And how to understand that you deserve the most amazing love just for simply existing. Because every person on the planet is a soul first. You are not your name. You are not your skin color. You are not your sex. You are a soul. That is your divine birthright, is to be loved, to be honored, to be cherished, to be appreciated, to be valued, because you are inherently valuable.
Yeah.
And every person on the planet has an amazing gift to give. And sometimes we just can't see it, but our relationships will help bring it up to the surface for you to look at. Where am I not valuing myself? Where am I not respecting myself? Where am I not understanding that I'm amazing and I deserve the most amazing love ever, right? And so all of your relationships will just kind of show that to you. And the key that the spirit guides like to bring up a lot is every relationship has value to it.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Every single one. Whether you can see it in the moment or not.
Yeah.
Right? Hindsight's 2020.
Yes.
But if you go back and you look at every relationship you've ever had, you will find at least one nugget of value. One nugget of, wow, I learned something really big in that relationship. And it may be something like, I learned I never want to be with that type of person again, right?
Which
that
is
can be
a
a
valuable,
big nugget.
Yeah, it's a valuable lesson when we have those.
Right. Like, I did not mesh well with that person, right? Or that person stepped on my boundaries, and that's where I learned boundaries.
Yes.
Or that person didn't respect me, and I learned that, right? And it's kind of like learning a checklist, is the way they're showing it to me right now. Is like seeing a checklist in front of you, like, okay, I learned this, and I learned this, and I learned this. And now moving forward into another relationship, I'm coming into that relationship as a more healed person than I was in that other relationship, but I'm healed because of that other relationship. They're all valuable.
Yeah. And in the way you're sharing about, sometimes we have these relationships where we realize like we're not valued or respected. I imagine it's also the flip side. Maybe there's relationships where maybe we haven't acted in the best way, and someone teaches us a lesson in that way, and then we can learn that and take that forward into our next relationship too.
Absolutely. You could look at it as like an equal exchange, right? Because each person is learning something.
Absolutely.
Right. So it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you're on.
Yes.
You're both having an experience that is designed to help you grow.
Yes.
Because the people you're in relationships with is not an accident, right? These were things that were decided before you even came into body. And you were just two souls, and you were like, hey, can you come help me learn this?
Yeah.
And that other soul's like, yeah, absolutely. And you don't work out the how you're going to learn it. You just work out that you're going to work together on it. But somebody always has to be the bad person, quote unquote, right?
Yeah,
like somebody's got to be, right? How one of you is going to look at the other as like, oh, that person, right?
Yeah. And I guess just being open to like, sometimes we're the person who learns the lesson of like, oh, I could have done that better. And sometimes we're the person who learns the lesson of like, wow, I've really not been treated well, and I need to not allow that to keep happening and change my behavior and set the boundaries and
100%
do all of those things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And your spirit guides will always happily point out if you have wronged somebody. This is not just like a one-way thing. They will happily point out, like, you could have done this a little bit differently.
No, it's so great. I love this kind of this just visual of the zooming out and kind of the learning the lessons in various ways in different directions. And it really just feels like, and I always feel like our relationships help us evolve if we allow them to do so. And so what you're sharing with us about the guides just really feels like such a beautiful way to help us see the places where we want to grow in different ways. And so I know we had talked a little bit about this too before, but I always ask people for a practice or a tool that they can share with people. And you had shared something really wonderful about just how to start to make this connection with the guide. So if you would be willing to share that and explain that a little bit, I think listeners would really like to hear how they can start to build this relationship if they don't already have one.
Absolutely. So spirit guides are very, very playful, and they love to do creative things with you and come up with new ways to get your attention. And so one of the really fun things that you can do, and this also is a practice to kind of help you build trust, because the goal is, yes, for you to turn to your spirit guides to ask for them to be more active, like upfront with you, right? Giving them permission to come in. And one of the ways that you can start doing that is you can start with, I'll give you like a quick example. You could be like, okay, I really want to connect with you, my authentic spirit guides. I would love if you would send me a sign or a symbol that lets me know that you've received my request, right?
Okay.
And so one of the things you can do is you can pick like a specific symbol in the beginning. So like I live in New York, so we don't have polar bears, right? Because you don't want to pick something that you see every day. So I could be like, send me a polar bear.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to be open to receiving it however it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it could come on the TV. It could be in a magazine. It could be on a bumper sticker or a billboard, right? It could come in any number of ways. It could be on social media. Spirit guides love using social media, by the way, to get your attention. So know that you can do that. And then don't set a time limit. Don't try to pigeonhole them like I need this by 6 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Just send me fill in the blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, send me a polar bear.
Mm-hmm.
And then just let it go. And it may happen the same day. It may happen a week later. But your requests will never go unanswered, ever. And so if you practice with this, right, just creating this relationship, when the time comes where you really need assistance, you're really struggling with something, you'll have the trust built up that when you go, oh my gosh, my life is falling apart, I really need your help, and they just send some random thing on social media, then you're able to trust it because you've built this relationship by playing, right? This is all about play. This has the energy of play. This is not serious. Okay. So don't go at it with all serious energy. This is fun and light. Okay. Because spirit guides love fun and light. And they really do use social media all of the time. I just had an example the other day where I was questioning something and was like, I started to go into my assuming, right? Because I'm still human. And I got the answer. I happened to be scrolling on Instagram and I got the exact answer I needed in that moment on somebody else's post. Okay. So be open. Know that all of your scrolling on Instagram and TikTok can lead to results. Okay.
That's hilarious. Yes. Okay. Don't need to feel bad about the incessant scrolling now because you're just looking for a message from your spirit guide. So there you have it.
Yes. And the other thing that you can do too is you can do automatic writing with your spirit guides. Right. Which is some people like to use like a Word document. I'm a pen and paper kind of girl myself, but you can absolutely just start off with the intention, writing down, my intention is to connect with my authentic spirit guides. And then just write, and don't think about what you're writing. Don't question what you're writing. Don't worry if you can read it or not. None of that matters. But it is something that takes practice, but all of it will lead to when you are in a relationship issue and you don't know what to do, or if you're looking at something with a skewed perspective, knowing that you've already formulated this relationship with your spirit guides is going to be super helpful to get the clear guidance that you're looking for.
Yeah, it seems like so much about establishing like the back and forth and the trust. And, as you trust your guides to give you this message, you can start to trust what you're receiving also. And so often, as we started at the beginning saying, oh my gut, or I have this feeling, but so often you have that feeling, but you don't follow it. And then something happens later and you're thinking, oh my God, I should have done that thing. I knew it. I knew what I needed to do. And so I feel like this practice is really helping to solidify that so that when we do get those messages, we actually take action on them and don't like go into self-doubt and all of these other things that, just happen because we're human.
Absolutely. And, self-doubt is the most common thing, especially when, we live in a society that's like, if you can't touch it, taste it, feel it, it doesn't exist, right?
True.
But the universe is vast and made up of all of this support that's just waiting for you to reach out and ask for help.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for all of this and for this beautiful practice that people can start playing with. I think that that's such a great way to start the journey if this is brand new to you. And I know that you are offering a little bit of a Christmas in July special. So if you want to share that with people, since this will be released this July, they can take advantage of working with you.
Yeah, so I'm doing my Christmas in July sale. It's 15% off of a single session. So you could do like an intuitive session, which consists of spirit guides, higher self, Akashic records, energy work. All of that is in an intuitive session. Or if you are an animal lover and you want to have an animal communication session, that is also 15% off. So you could take advantage of that. It runs through July 31st. Sessions do not have to take place in July though. So
okay, that's great to know. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So it's on your website, you had mentioned, right? Okay, perfect. Yes. So we'll link the website and they can book there with the code, but that's actually really great news because you can buy until July 31st. But if you want to use it a little bit down the line, then you can do that too. Perfect. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here. Is your website the best place for people to contact you? Is there any other like social media handle that you prefer, or how can people reach out to you if they would like?
Sure. So if they want to book, they can go right to my website, AllisonDellatore.com. And you can also find me over on TikTok at Allison Dellatore. There's a lot of messages from Spirit over there with some fun little tidbits for everybody. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Allison Dellatore Intuitive.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I will definitely have all of that in the show notes. And just thank you again for sharing. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts to help more people find us so they can transform their relationships too. As a thank you, every month, we'll pick one winner to receive a free 45-minute one-on-one somatic coaching session with me to explore and gain clarity around a relationship challenge. And if you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach more highly sensitive women who want to experience richer, more connected relationships.